Hey, Greyhounds fans! Thank you for listening to the Hounds Huddle podcast on Moraviansports.com, the Greyhound Sports Network, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I am LJ Smith, Assistant Director of Athletic Communications at Moravian University, and on this episode, I sat down with head football coach and defensive coordinator Jeff Pukszyn. We discussed his days as a student athlete, concluding with his 11th season as the head coach of the Moravian Greyhounds football program. So let's get this episode underway and meet our guest, Jeff Pukszyn. All right, I'm joined by head football coach and defensive coordinator Jeff Pukszyn. Thank you so much, Coach, for sitting down with me this afternoon and kind of talk about your career as a football student athlete all the way up to now finishing your 11th year at the helm of this Greyhound squad. Was football your first true and only love for athletics?
So, no, I come from a basketball family.
Okay.
My grandfather is from Allentown, played at Allentown Central Catholic here locally, played semi-professional ball, played against Wilt Chamberlain.
Okay.
Scored 69 points in a game, and that was with no three-pointers. You know, he kind of was the face of the family, so to speak. And then had two aunts on the first state championship team at Allentown Central Catholic on the women's side that played together. And then my one aunt, Tina Crawl, had an unbelievable career collegiately with the movie The Mighty Max with Immaculata, played on that team. And just recently retired from the NCAA and did that, but had a great playing career, coaching career, was a head coach at San Jose State, was an assistant at Cal Berkeley, started her career as a graduate assistant at Michigan State. It was really cool because I got to meet Magic Johnson when I was a little kid out there, going to visit her. So, certainly a lot of basketball in the family. And I was, my one uncle played some football in high school, and I was really good at it, but went to the service after high school. Okay. And but I was the first in the family to go and play in college and do that. So I don't know. I kind of broke away from the pack, but I think a little bit had to probably do that. I was only 5'10", so there wasn't a big recruitment process for me in basketball. In high school with that. So just ended up being a football guy in the family out of a basketball family.
That's incredible. The amount of, I don't even say star power that your family has been around, but you kind of been exposed to and seeing how those organizations operate and then being able to take that and see how the work ethic pays off. You have examples right in front of you growing up.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It really, really is. And to have those family members that you can lean on, and from my grandfather and aunts and uncles, and like I said, my Aunt Tina moving on collegiately and doing things, and then moving on, as a coach, and climbing the ladder like a graduate assistant coach, head coach, and then getting to the NCAA level and doing things at the administrative level. Just really, really fortunate, with that. So that's been really, really good, and the mentorship and the guidance has been great. On that end of things.
Oh, I can imagine. So you're a kid, you're playing football. You said basketball family, but did you play basketball, baseball, anything like that as a kid growing up in the middle school, high school?
Sure, yeah. That was the thing. I think, I started out being football, basketball, baseball. That's what you did. You went to the park and, you did all those things like that. And you went from one sport to another. I still remembered the Allentown Jordan Park 4th of July baseball tournaments, and then a month later you're going into football, and then you're in the gyms and elementary schools and middle schools and the Winter League basketball. So it just went in one to another, and went to Catholic school my whole life, so CYO basketball was a big thing in middle school, and doing those things like that. But started out as 3 sports, then went to 2, and then my sophomore year at Downtown Central Catholic had a knee injury in the summer league basketball actually, and then didn't play. To just handed in the basketball and stayed with football the rest of the time at Central. So which was a good time for me. We went through a coaching change in high school at that time, and it just really took off. And so really kind of right time, right place to have more mentors and great leaders come into my life.
Oh, for sure. And having that impact of an unfortunate injury, but kind of steering you in what exactly you wanted to do moving forward, where you could see yourself thriving.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think probably, every person you talk to, probably in our department, has a teacher or a coach that really was a great mentor for them. And I was lucky to have a couple. And it started in high school and still continues in those relationships I still have, which is great. So again, it was just kind of that transition into sophomore year, right time, right place, blessed with some great coaches. And, and then the kind of, I don't know, the rest they say was history, I guess, for the football side of things. That's what I stuck with.
You're playing football in high school. What was were you recruited while you were playing football in high school? What was that process like? 'Cause all the coaches I've spoken to so far, it's completely different than what the process is now. But what was that like for you as a student athlete?
Sure. To me, it was a fun process. And we were lucky to have a couple guys go on and play collegiately at all different levels. So there was a lot of coaches that we got to meet in the off season that would come through, around this time of the year, with that. So for me, personally, it was, a lot of local schools, Division II, Division III schools in Pennsylvania, Jersey, around here regionally, that would come in, talk to us, talk about, what their school niche was, I guess,
Okay.
what they were known for on the academic side, on the athletic side, and, selling some things and doing that stuff like that. And then, like I said, our coaches were really good mentors for us. So after we would have those meetings with college coaches, we would recap that with them and say, yeah, they're tied to this academically, they're tied to this athletically. They have people, from around here on the roster, different things. So it was a really good educational experience for me, and just really lucky that I never had to do it on my own, because I was, 17. So, I needed some help with that. And so it was a really good process. It was a fun process. Got to know coaches that recruited me that I'm still friends with today, even though I didn't go to their school. So, you end up sometimes with lasting relationships. It just one conversation, can make a difference. And, and that's the great thing about athletics.
Talking with Jesse Bauman, the head cross country and track and field coach, he even said one of his current student athletes, he recruited his older sister when he was just a kid. And he decided to come here because he had a connection with Jesse. Mm-hmm. So that's just an incredible idea to think that no matter what, one conversation, whether you choose that institution or not, has an impact on the future of a potential another student athlete, or even just having that connection moving forward throughout life.
Yeah, it's a really neat process when you think about it.
Yeah.
Everyone moves at such a fast pace in life, but when you think about those connections and, in coaching or business or teaching or, what have you, in athletics, that one conversation can last a lifetime.
So you go on, you play collegiate football, and afterwards you come onto the coaching side of things after your time here at Moravian, and you coach with a Hall of Famer in Scott Dapp, a former athletic director, head coach here. You're also a Hall of Fame member with him here in the Moravian Athletics Hall of Fame. So what was that experience like for you working alongside Coach Dapp?
Playing for him was great. So I think the relationship started, player-coach relationship, and just really got along. I was fortunate to play with a lot of good guys here too. So the experience was great, and had a lot of different coaches, and again, just meeting more people and more mentors and people that are going to give you guidance. In high school, it's one thing because it's part of the recruitment. And then when you get to college, it's more about life.
Yeah.
And your postgraduate success and what you want to do and some things like that. So always had a really good connection with Coach Dapp, on the player coach side of things. And then, was fortunate, have a couple extra classes to take after I was done playing, and got to be basically a student coach, I guess, if you will.
Okay.
And that's where I really caught it. And I really saw the inside of things now and how recruiting works, how these coaches show up at your high school. Found out that they're long days, and you got to be super organized, and you're going to 5 or 6 schools a day, and doing that stuff. And then, finding out a little bit more of, this is what we have to offer here, and how to go about talking to a family and a recruit and doing those things like that. So really got ingrained in that pretty early, and, really liked it. And always wanted to learn more and be around more and do those things like that. And then after 2 years of 1 year of the student coach, 1 year as a part-time coach, and out there, I guess, kind of working in the real world, as my wife would say, was fortunate enough to get hired full-time as the defensive coordinator. And so to work with Coach Dapp then, as his defensive coordinator was great, because he was a defensive coordinator at one time early in his career. And so, again, some more mentorship and how to do things. things. And, and again, like anything else, there's a learning curve. That first year, I still remember, that was a lot because it was, practice scripts and organization and organizational charts and doing different things. Again, it was really, really good that I had other coaches around me that could really teach me. A guy named Fritz Halfaker coached with me, and Coach Halfaker is very well known in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and was a high school coach, and he was a counselor, guidance counselor in Jersey, and really taught me the little parts of play in the secondary and linebackers. And it was just really, really fortunate to have him be a part of my coaching career. I was really, really lucky to have Coach Half around too. So that was fun. So those 10 years as defensive coordinator were great. Recruiting was great, and just tried to learn as much as I could and keep preparing for the next step, of my career.
So you're named the head coach, and you take over for Coach Dapp. What was going through your head, because you talk about moving up through the ranks? So you finally get the head coach title added to defensive coordinator. What was that experience like?
Sure. Well, Coach Dapp obviously got moved in the athletic director role. So I guess I felt like my job was just turn out the lights at the end of the night, the last one to leave the office, with that. But in all honesty, it was humbling. It was a place where you play that you're getting passed on to be the head coach now. I'm passing that torch, I should say, on to be the head coach. So ultimate pride in the university here, ultimate pride in the program. So it was very humbling to be able to lead the program that you once played for, and do that. And again, really, really fortunate that Coach Dapp was just a little further away in a different chair, but could still go to him for guidance and do things like that, which was great. But then to also just create your own staff and do different things like that, helped me and, move on along the coaching career in the head coach seat now. And, so player relationships are different, and from an assistant coach to a head coach. So just had to take on those things, it's been a fun process.
And we fast forward a little bit. I alluded to it. You were inducted into the Moravian Athletics Hall of Fame. Humbling for sure, as you just mentioned, to become the head coach of your alma mater. But how, that experience, just hearing Jeff Pukszyn, Hall of Famer at Moravian University.
Sure, it's a big honor, because when you look, if you take the time to look, and every person that's in a Hall of Fame can do it in their sport, and you say, wow. I'm with Charlie Heidecker, I'm with Gary Martell, I'm with Kurt Poling and Tom Ike and Steve Tone and guys that I played with, and Bob Hennessy and Mike Puszyn, and a guy that I coached, Jared Pence, that I got to induct. So it is such an honor to be a part of that wall. With everything. And so that's been, that's something that will always be there. I'm proud of, and just played with a lot of good guys. And I think if it wasn't for the guys around me, I'm not sure I would have got in. We all help each other out. And, I had a lot of good players around me that really helped me out. So without Jason Roeder and Sean Storm and Dom Cusimano and different people, I'm not sure Jeff Pukszyn would be there. So just really honored to be in that position. But I don't forget about the guys that really helped me get there as well.
We'll move forward. It's spring of 2020. You complete the fall 19 season, spring of 2020, and a global pandemic hits. What's going through your head from the coaching side of things? Because now you have to tell your team that practice has ceased.
Sure, and I can distinctly remember when we went to virtual learning. We were just finishing a players' council meeting, and the word came out, and it was one of those things that we were all going, okay, what's your guess? How long?
Yeah.
How many weeks, or is it a month, or is it a year? And when do you think we'll be back? And doing those things like that. So, I think that was the first thing. Like, how long?
Yeah.
What are we thinking? Where is this going to go? So that was the first thing. The next thing was going to the virtual learning. And obviously we were set up for success here, right? Apple Distinguished School really set up for success. So as overwhelming as some things were, I think that transition ended up, when you look back, it was really, really smooth. And our players, credit to them for doing a great job, and credit for the staff to just, a daily reminder, hey guys, let's attack the day. Hey, let's make sure we're doing these things, and different things like that to end the semester on a good note. But thought our players really handled that responsibility well. And like I said, it really made the transition smooth because of the technology aspect of where this school's at, which was, enormously helpful with that. But didn't know where we were going to go, didn't know when we were going to come back. My message to the players all the time is when I find out, you're going to know as soon as I can tell you.
Yeah.
So that was just the biggest thing. And certainly a little bit of a waiting game. But as information came out, we told them, and we just tried to keep them, with as much information in front of them to try to help ease that anxiety, because I think we all had that anxiety.
For sure.
With that. So that was the toughest part. But I think the constant communication hopefully helped, as the days and the weeks went on.
Oh, for sure. Having that open line of communication just gives clarity to the student athletes. So trying to figure out exactly how to keep the student athletes determined and engaged, it's a credit to the coaching staff, to the athletic department, to this institution for guiding them in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And, things were happening at different levels and not happening at some levels. So, you always say, well, why or how?
Yep.
And why is this going on? I remember when Centennial canceled the 2020 season, and it was in July. And I think it was July 6th, to be honest with you. And we got on a Zoom with the players and told them. And, that's heartbreaking.
Yep.
Not so much for me, but for the players.
Yeah.
It's all about them. It's their senior years, a bunch of guys. And how are we going to navigate through this? And I still remember, we told the players, and then a day or two later, my kids are still playing some sports.
Yeah.
And how is that going on? I'm questioning that. How am I doing this with my players? And, and then my kids are able to do some things, and everything like that. So it's just navigating uncharted territories at different levels, with that. But I think the biggest thing was certainly trying to take things one day at a time. One thing that I've learned, and I think I tried to tell our players is, you got to stay neutral. Being positive, sometimes you don't know where it's going to get you. Certainly negativity, is something that does not work. I think we all know that. But trying to stay neutral and accepting where you're at, and then, just moving forward from that, with everything. So that's been a big lesson that I've learned, probably in that sports psychology world that the pandemic has taught me.
Are you looking to get your hands on Moravian University Greyhounds gear? Head over to moraviansports.com and click the link Sideline Store under the tab Fan Zone to find our Moravian apparel store. Each month, there is a promotion that offers a discount to all things Greyhounds, from hats, hoodies, shirts, and more. Head to the Moravian Athletics Sideline Store today, powered by BSN Sports. So we get to the summer of 2021. We're about to have a preseason. What's going through your head? Because after this confusing and difficult time for everyone, including the student athletes still getting an education throughout this process, we're about to go and have a preseason for the first time in 2 years. What's that like for you, your staff, and then the student athletes?
Sure. I think for us it was, the same thing. Us getting educated, because we knew we weren't out of the pandemic, but it was about how do we manage things? How do we do things? How can we provide our players with the most information we can heading into a training camp that we know is not going to look all the way the same?
Yeah.
With things. So, a credit to everyone in the department for that piece, because it doesn't take one person. I think it takes a village in dealing with something like this. So I think that constant communication in our department, constant communication from sports medicine to the coaches, and how we're going to do this, and knowing that, there's going to be speed bumps that are going to occur, and we just got to be able to handle those along the way, because we don't know what they are yet with things. So, but we knew we were going to be here, and we knew we were going to get an opportunity to be together again, and certainly was going to be vastly different because we have, really the sophomore class who didn't get to play as freshmen, the freshman class that's coming in who played as seniors, but are new to the program and doing those things. So we knew that the whole the whole concept was going to be a little bit different when you're talking about experience and different things like that on a roster. So I thought the staff did a great job in trying to navigate those things through training camp. And as we got into the school year, knowing that we were going to have those same things come up, and just, to constantly try to make sure the staff was on the same page to help the student athletes.
You get through preseason. You're about to take the field and step on the sideline for the first time in 2 years as a program at King's College. What was going through the student athlete's head knowing about they're stepping on the field for the first time?
Sure, I'm sure there was a lot of butterflies.
Yeah.
Anxiety, if you will. Players and coaches, you're all going through it, and doing those things. We were away, up at King's for that first game. So just traveling together and doing those things like that, right? Just getting on the bus, you have a little bit more time, thought process wise.
Yeah.
As you're going up to playing a away game and doing those things like that. For me, and I always told the players, I was always really excited to watch them play. That Saturday was a time for them to play at the best of their abilities. That was their day to go out there and play together and do things, in 3 different units on offense and defense and special teams. And, competition, I always said to our guys, should really bring out the best in you. So, being the ultimate competitor should bring out the best part of your game, so to speak. So I certainly had a lot of anxiety. There's no doubt about that. I'm sure those players did. But I think they always say, once you have the first play underneath your belt, once you score the first basket in basketball, once you get the first hit in baseball, you kind of get into a rhythm. And I could see that rhythm progress, in that first game. And was proud of our guys because it's a long, time that we were off.
Yeah.
And not being able to compete against someone else. We had practices and we had things like that, but was really proud of how they handled training camp and handled that first game of getting back out there after a whole year off.
And you open up Centennial Conference play on the road at Gettysburg. So back-to-back road games to start the season. So it's not even like you get to have that first home game finally. You go on the road to Gettysburg, and what a come-from-behind victory, earning that win in overtime. So let's talk about how that game progressed, scoring the game-tying touchdown on the final play, and then coming out on top in overtime.
Yeah, sure. We didn't make it easy for ourselves.
Yeah.
And we made everyone stick around a little bit longer than a normal game and playing that overtime. But, I think the guys just really persevered through that game. And I think that was the one thing. They never got too high. They never got too low. We had some really good positive plays. We had some negative plays, with some things. But I think they just took one play at a time. And you could see that. And you could see that they had confidence throughout the game. Each play, to me, just took kind of a life of its own, and that was great to see for our players because it wasn't about one play to win the game. It was about one play to do your job to have success. I was really proud of those guys, the way they played like that. I still remember on defense there was a lot of contributors, but I certainly remember Brady Hornbaker having a really, really big game that game, and it was almost couldn't be blocked up front, and it was really, really good to see. And Trevor Cunningham had a big game on offense that day, and really connected, with Chris. And caught some really big balls, and a ton of contributors there. But Trevor catching some of those big passes and having some of those, and then Brady, those things stick out. But I know that day, we had a lot of guys that contributed in 3 phases, and and being able to win in overtime on the road is not easy. And was just really proud of the way they performed for 60 minutes plus.
Yeah, definitely seeing how things came together. As you said, first real preseason, even though it was still modified, coming off a tough loss on the road and getting right back on the road into conference play and coming out, seeing how the progression of just 2 weeks of being together on the field has grown this team really coming together. And then we fast forward now to homecoming. It's the second home game of the season. You have Dickinson at home, which is always, I feel like every Centennial game is just a rivalry game every time it's played. But you come out on top. Talk about, you said perseverance, but I just feel like that's an understatement for what this squad and you and your staff have been able to put in for this team.
Sure, that was coming off a bye week. So it was, you're always, we give our guys, I think, a good amount of time off to really be just students for a couple days, and and have some time away from us. And then that week, because of the bye week, we had a 6 a.m. practice on a Monday, and kind of got them going, which we usually don't practice on Mondays. With that, but gave them the weekend off and came back at it, and just had an unbelievable week. The guys were competing and finishing plays in practice and doing some really, really good things. And then it's homecoming, right? So my feeling is, give me a better venue in the conference for homecoming. I don't know if there is one. We not only do it right, I think we do it better than anyone for homecoming. And having the tailgate and and doing all those things, and a lot of people coming back and wanting to see each other and then wanting to see Moravian football. So just a phenomenal atmosphere, and I can remember those as players. And like I said, just I would argue with anyone. I don't know if anyone does it better than we do for homecoming. So I think that really fires up our guys. And I think we came out and just played really, really well from the first snap. And I think we played really, really physical. And, and we're relentless in all three phases. And that showed up on the Sunday film without a doubt. So came out really fast. Had a little bit of a lull in the beginning of the second half. I don't know if it was that weather that was rolling in and, and the rain, but, finished strong and did it together. And I was really, really proud of our guys. And there's no better win at our place than on homecoming, like I said, because that venue is just phenomenal.
Just to step back on the field for the first time, the first home game was against, I believe, Johns Hopkins. So you take the field, you're running out, that you see the team running out. What was that like for you to finally see your team in their home uniforms come out and take Rocco Cabell Field?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It really, really is. I mean, that's just such a good environment, I think, for our players and our fans and our alums, and like I said, when you talk about homecoming, now you got both sides. You got the blue and gray pavilion at home games, but now you got the whole practice field. And everyone's having fun. And it's just a fun environment. And for our guys, I think they just get, like I said, they get really fired up, on homecoming, because it's such a great crowd and it's such a great atmosphere. And, it's fun to do. So for me to watch those guys come out and just see it in their eyes and how much fun it is and how much they like that environment, it's you can't get better.
We move now to senior day. 30 seniors that are going to be leaving the program. I talked to Justin McCray. He was on the Zoom we had for the Athletics Giving Challenge we held, talking about what it was like to run out on the field on senior day. I have goosebumps thinking about it for everyone. Like, I was not a student athlete, but knowing what that experience means to this group of guys, knowing that they didn't play for a full year, 2 years, they're taking the field for the last time at home. What emotions did you see in the locker room? But you can also reflect, because you were a student athlete here. What was going through your head at that moment?
Yeah, it's something as you go through it. And I'm really fortunate to be in that locker room as the head coach, but also have played there, 100 years ago. But it was, in the same spot. You just want to bottle that up, because it doesn't last forever. And I think, you see that look of, anxiousness, saying, like, I can't wait to do this with the guy next to me, my brother next to me, right? One last time on the field together at home and doing those things like that. So, it's an emotional day. For me, the emotion is that these guys have poured their heart and souls into, Moravian football, and have really been really great people, ambassadors, and involved in a lot of different things that we do, in the community. And you realize that, you only got hours left now with them. And this group was such a fun group and such a mature group to be around. So, you see that and you're going, man, I hope this game lasts for 8 hours, not just 4, for their sake, and and for them to get every ounce of it, that they can. So, it is an emotional day, but it's certainly one that is going to last forever for them. And these relationships that they have built, it's that last senior day, but they're going to be together for as long as they want to be, and these relationships last a lifetime.
I remember sticking around afterwards, and you see some of the seniors still on the field, like they know, like they don't want it to come to an end. And if that day could last 8 hours, like you said, just to know you're taking the field, the pride that this group has. it has to be so rewarding for you to see how they've carried themselves over the past couple of years.
Sure, it really is, and guys that, made hard decisions to move on, whether it be in graduate school or getting jobs, and some guys that have come back for their COVID year, and then have just the seniors, that have come up through, and all those guys together walking out that last time and walking out with their parents, and, knowing that it's emotional for the parents too.
Sure.
Parents have done this since maybe they were 8 years old.
Yeah.
And, they might be doing their last tailgate, together. So it's an emotional time for the families as well, with everything. But this group, I thought, just really conducted themselves really well, and they were great. And, every relationship's different that you have as a coach with players, and, they're not a one-size-fits-all. But these guys, I think, really want to see the program really do well and kind of pay it forward and do that stuff like that. And they're going to have a lot of postgraduate success, which we're very proud of as coaches and father myself. You want that success to continue, and it will with this group because of their effort. And that's the main thing too. They have such effort. They have such perseverance. They're dedicated people, which they're going to be successful because of those traits that they all had.
We wrap up the season, and looking back, there's a lot of contributors on both sides of the ball, special teams as well. Let's talk about a couple of the guys that have really stuck out, made an impact on this season. A couple record breakers with Nick Petros, Chris Mills, Corey Little, who ended up getting injured. Mm-hmm. Just talk about some of the guys that really made an impact on this program.
Sure, those guys you mentioned right there had a huge impact. Nick Petros is a fierce competitor. And I always say that, and I've said it probably more often than not, that's the guy, he's one of the guys that if you're in gym class, you're picking him first. And it doesn't matter what you're playing, because he's a fierce competitor. And I think he has the ability sometimes to get people to play a little bit better because he's on the field and doing things. So he's great. Chris Mills, really, really good leader, is going to be a great teacher and a great coach. That success that he's going to have 10, 20, 30 years down the road from now, you can see it in him as a person, without a doubt. And other guys, Carrington Smith, what a leader in the backfield. And again, another guy that gives a ton of effort and does things the right way, and just was great for the group and for the running back group and the unit and offense. And I think really helped all the other running backs, to be completely honest with you, on how you practice and how you approach things and how you do things. So that was great. Trevor Cunningham got a little banged up, but again, great leader, great individual, great person, without a doubt. The whole offensive line, those guys, missed a year, and that's the hardest position on the field. You got to get 5 guys on the same page every single play, and doing things. And I thought they got better as the year went on, and collectively got better, and that was great to see on the offensive side of the ball. And defensively, a lot of experience on defense. We mentioned Brady Hornbaker, Noah Breidinger, Justin McCray, Jalen Richardson. The list goes on and on and on. Guys that, fifth-year guys, and R.J. Nicholson and Jackson Buzzkirk, and doing things. And, with R.J. just, some of the underclassmen said it was great to have him back playing, and, what great leadership, and just the things he was telling us and how to play and how to do things. So, those things are awesome to hear, and just such a great group and a lot of contributors. Yeah. And probably could sit here for a couple hours
forever
and talk about what great people they are and what great leaders they are. And, that's just says a lot, I think, about who they are, going through the program.
And how meaningful is it to you specifically, but the coaching staff, to know that this group has left that much of an impact on the underclassmen moving forward, that they see the work ethic, the work that was put in to now carry that torch to move forward with this program? Yeah,
it's great. And, again, it was really hard, right, for not just football, for all athletes in college, especially Division II and Division III that missed a year, because, again, you weren't able to work out together a whole lot, and you had to put it together pretty quick if you were a fall sport in 2021 and doing that. So certainly there was time missed, but I think when you look back on it and kind of evaluate it, you say, wow, I do think they made the most of their time. and tried to do the best they could, right? And that's the most important thing, because you can't go backwards, and you can't say, wow, hey, we missed those things. I think they did a good job of saying, well, here we are now, and we're going to continue to move forward, and doing those things like that. And it's really, really good, And another guy, Romello Walters, was a big part. R.J. Guffey, long snapping. All these pieces of the puzzle and these seniors that all had a part in what they do, and they get along so well. It's really neat to see.
And you mentioned not to take anything for granted. That's the one key thing I've taken away from all of these recaps I've done with the fall head coaches, is that's what their teams really honed in on, is like tomorrow was never guaranteed. Something could have popped up and we could have been out of contention, out of playing the sport you've been wanting and waiting to play. So go out there and make it worth every second. Is that something you felt like your team really did this past season?
I think they did to the best of their abilities, absolutely. And I think the one thing that we always talk about, and I'm sure every coach does, is that when you're playing, and the student athlete, I think, really, reigns true here. You're a student athlete, and you keep those things in priorities no matter what sport you are. I think, we do a good job of that at Moravian. And to talk about when you're in the classroom, be the best student you can be. But when you get to go to practice, have fun.
Yeah.
Do your best to have fun. And that's not always easy, because there's a lot of things on your mind, with that and everything like that. But I think that's the message you try to say is that, hey, be the best student you can be the most complete player you can be in whatever position you are, and really whatever sport you are, and doing those things like that. And, and then you have those lasting relationships because you're working out together and you're doing those things and you're practicing together. So even when you have those emotional days like senior day and that last time you're stepping on the field together, then it just moves for those seniors into the next phase of their life and their careers, but they're always going to have each other.
Well, in referencing what Coach Jeff Yukoric said, the women's soccer coach, attending the Hall of Fame with his seniors is something that he will never stop doing, because they're not up there talking about the game-winning kick, the game-winning anything. It's about the memories they made with their other peers, their coaching staff, stuff like that matters. That's what's going to leave a lasting impact. And I feel personally, just hearing those stories, that it's one of my favorite nights of the year, because you get to hear those things from another generation of student athletes that came up through the same programs that we're currently trying to continue on. So that's just really something I like to hone in on, and credit to Coach Yukoric for instilling that in his players as well, because it sounds like that's what a lot of the staff has been doing.
Sure. I think, the one thing I've talked to some of these players about, some of the seniors about, is, through my experience, I cannot give you a score of a game that I played in. But I can tell you that Jason Roeder and I and Kevin Greenberg were in lockers right next to each other. I can tell you that. You go through things with players, and you go through highs and lows, and those are the things that continue, right? So you have really good times, and your friends get married, and they have kids. And, unfortunately, a really good friend and teammate of mine, passed away way too soon. Unfortunately, not just one. Wally Westerfelt was one, and Sean Kevel, unfortunately, who our MVP trophy is named after now, and everything like that. But, you remember the relationships. I tell our players, like, the score sometimes you won't remember, and that's A-okay. But you'll remember some of the good plays. Sometimes you remember some of the plays that maybe you could have made, but the relationships are the things that, you're going to remember forever. And then that's what means the most.
So we look ahead now, as we concluded this season. What can we look forward to next year for the Moravian football program?
Sure. It's you graduate a really big class. So the hope is now, as we head into February, that, we end up having probably a little bit bigger incoming class to match the numbers, so to speak. So it's going to be a new group of guys that are coming in 2022, a couple new guys that are already here on campus as mid-year transfers, which they're fired up to be here, and we're fired up to have them be a part of our program, and doing things. So that's a good thing. So I think for us, it's again, it's going to come down to, these guys really now getting an offseason together like we truly haven't had. So it's another building block, I think, that is good. Talk about the return to normal. I'm not sure what normal is, but I know we keep managing things and progressing through things, and I think we do it awesome here. So I think, from top to bottom. It's been a great transition into the spring semester. So through the guys working out together, through them being great sales reps for the new incoming guys, the guys that are seniors right now, at their high schools, and creating relationships when families visit. It's you couldn't ask for a better scenario heading into 22 right now.
That's awesome. Jeff, thank you so much for spending some time with me this afternoon to kind of recap this past season, but also reflect back as a child from finding the love of your sport all the way up to working with Coach Dapp and becoming a Hall of Famer here at Moravian. Thank you for your time, and we'll look forward to catching up before the season starts next year.
Thanks, LJ.
I had so much fun talking with Jeff Pukszyn, the head coach and defensive coordinator of the Moravian football squad. We had the opportunity to reflect on his youth and past as a student athlete, then his coaching tenure as a Greyhound for over 20 years, including being inducted into the 2019 Moravian Athletics Hall of Fame. Be sure to follow the football program on social media at MoravianFB on Twitter and at Moravian Football on Instagram. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and follow the Moravian University Athletics accounts as well. That's all I have for you on this episode of the Hounds Huddle podcast. Until next time, I am LJ Smith, signing off.